What's up, guys? So I have set up my background all beautiful. I've got Geralt right here and the Witcher Wild Hunt poster, one of the posters in the back with the Wild Hunt. Awesome. If you're wondering where I got this poster, it came with the pre-order of the game. I don't know if it just came up with the pre-order of the special edition or the collector's edition, but that's how I got it at GameStop, so yeah. You probably can't get it anymore because this was like, they only had a few posters and I pre-ordered it like right when it went on pre-order, so you can't get this anymore. Anyways, what I want to do with the series of videos, I'm hoping I could do it because it involves a lot of reading, which I'm totally down with. I totally procrastinated when it came to the Witcher books. I wanted to read them before The Witcher came out, but I have this thing where sometimes I enter this stage where I just can't read. Well, I'll be reading and then my mind just starts wandering and I can't focus on what I'm reading. So that's the stage I was in for quite a while. So I was trying to finish reading Blood of Elves because I was almost done reading this. I just needed a little bit left, but it's been so long that I forgot what was even going on in the beginning. And I was like, I should read it again. But I really like this book. Not more than Last Wish, but I think it's really good. So I'm having fun reading it, but I'm reading it all over again, so that's why I'm kind of being delayed. But what I'm going to talk about right now is a story in Last Wish, because this is the first Witcher book. It's a collection of short stories. I haven't done a full review on it. You know what? If you guys want to know my review, my review is really short. This is an awesome book. I love it and I recommend it. If you want an introduction to The Witcher, this is perfect. After this came Sword of Destiny, which is another collection of short stories. But for some weird reason, the publishing company, or I don't know who, they just skipped Sword of Destiny and they never translated it in English, and they just went straight to the novels, because this is a full-on novel and the rest of them are as well. They're not short stories anymore. But they just skipped Sword of Destiny, and I've heard there's a lot of important stuff that happens in Sword of Destiny. I think mostly with Yennefer and Geralt. When you're reading this, because all you have is just this and then this, you feel like a gap. You feel a gap there where you're like, what happened in between? And that's pretty much what happens in Sword of Destiny, is what happens in between this and that. Now they're finally translating it to English, is what I'm talking about, because it is translated in other languages, but not English for some weird reason. I pre-ordered it on Amazon a long time ago, although I do want to read it before The Witcher 3, so I'm probably going to look for a fan translation and read it online. So it doesn't really matter when I get the actual book. But pretty much what I want to do with The Last Wish is, since there's a lot of short stories here, I don't want to go over all of them. I just want to go over the ones that are kind of more related to The Witcher Wild Hunt. Before I go into detail, now these are spoilers for the books, but if you want to go into the game not knowing who Ciri is, not knowing who Yennefer is and all that, probably don't watch this, because I am going to be going into that, like the backgrounds of these characters. In this one, a little bit of Ciri's background, not really including her, but more her family, and why Geralt is tied to her. So if you don't want to know anything about that, then don't watch this. Consider this as spoilers. Or if you want to read the books instead, then this is also going to contain spoilers. Today I'm going to be talking about A Question of Price, which is the short story where it goes over how Geralt, more like why Geralt came in contact with Ciri. Ciri is not in this book. Her mother, her grandmother, and her father are in this book. And they pretty much, that story pretty much answers why Geralt has adopted Ciri. So pretty much how this short story starts is that the Witcher is getting ready for this banquet type of thing. So he's like, why does the Queen of Sintra even need a Witcher at an event like this? Because pretty much what the event is, the Queen of Sintra, her name is Calanth. She's holding this dinner party for pretty much suitors for her daughter. Her daughter is turning 16 and her daughter's name is Princess Pavita. So that's why Geralt is confused as to why he needs to be there, why she hired him to be there, and especially why he needs to be undercover, because he is being dressed as some other dude. He's got the coat of arms as someone else. They tell him that his name is Honorable Ravix of Fowerhorn, so he's really confused. He's like, what? Actually, Princess Pavita is turning 15, not 16. So the queen pretty much wants her daughter to marry someone from one of the islands of Skellig, because it'll be a good alliance, and a lot of the people from Skellig are strong natives and stuff like that. When it comes to the queen, in Sintra, women don't rule, men do, but the queen is in rule because her husband, the King Ragnar, I think his name was? Yeah, Rogner. King Rogner, there's some names on here that I really don't know how to pronounce. He died a long time ago and she never remarried, so she just came into power because she was the queen. So now she's looking for a suitor for her daughter because this guy, whoever she marries, is going to be king one day. Geralt asks the Castellan, who is, pretty much getting him dressed, getting him ready and stuff. He's like, do you know anything? Why do they want me here? And the Castellan says, okay, I'm not supposed to say anything, but he says, they say it's a small hunchbacked, bristling like an urchin. It creeps around the castle at night, rattles chains, moans and groans in the chambers. So he's like, I think that's why they want you there. So the Witcher's like, okay, that kind of makes some sense now. Let's go and find out. He's sitting right next to the queen at her request. There are a bunch of people there from Skellig, from different areas, that are interested in the prince's hand. A lot of the story is pretty much just everyone arguing, the queen and Geralt arguing, questioning her why she needs a witcher. She's questioning him why he's questioning her, and you're not supposed to question me, I'm the queen, and this and that. The queen pretty much ends up telling Geralt, because Geralt keeps asking her, what do you want? What are the terms here? Sintra has to form an alliance with Skellig because the interest of the state demands it. My daughter has to marry the right person. Those are the results you must ensure me. Geralt says, I have to ensure that. Isn't your will alone sufficient for it to happen? And she says, events might take such a turn that it won't be sufficient. What can be stronger than your will? And she says, destiny. He says, aha. So I, a poor witcher, am to face down a destiny which is stronger than the royal will, a witcher fighting destiny. What irony. You ensure me my outcome, and I will give you what you ask. And Geralt says, what did you say? And she says again, I'll give you whatever you ask. And he says, say that again. Later you'll find out why he says that, because when someone says anything you ask, a witcher always has to have them say it again. So Geralt agrees because she's pretty much promising anything for this. He doesn't really know what he has to do 100%, but he's agreed. So now everyone's like, when are you going to bring down your daughter? We want to see her, this and that. So the queen has her daughter finally come down and meet everyone. She's very beautiful. She's just looking down. She doesn't look at anyone. She just sits down quietly, doesn't say anything. And Geralt just kind of keeps looking at her because she's kind of weird. She doesn't look at anyone. Everyone's like, oh my god, she's so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And then a new visitor comes and he says his name is Urchin of Erlenwald. He's dressed in knight armor. He's got a helmet on. And he's like, oh, I want to address you, Queen Calanth. Would you hear me out? But I can't take off my helmet, until, midnight. But she's like, okay, fine, that's fine. Tell me what you want to tell me. He pretty much tells her that 15 years ago, her husband had suffered an accident and he helped him pretty much. This urchin guy, found him in a ditch or something like that, and he helped him. And because he helped him, the king promised him anything he asked for. And Urchin says that I asked him to promise me whatever he had left at home without knowing or expecting. And he found you, Calanth, in labor. That baby that he was not expecting is now urchins. But the king says, okay, but you return in 15 years. So this makes Calanth really mad. She's like, what? How dare you? But everyone is kind of like bickering between themselves. They're like, what? We came here for her. And all of a sudden this guy just comes and says she's his already. We came this far. But some of them are actually like, we can't break this oath, because freaking curses will fall on the house or whatever if you break it, because it was a promise made by a king and it's destiny. They talk about, one of the people talks about, but let us not pretend we've never heard of such requests of the law of surprise, as old as humanity itself. One of the suitors says that this law of surprise allows whoever, as a request for a favor, to invoke it and say, you will give me the first thing that comes to greet you. So whenever that person goes home, if it's a dog, if it's their mother-in-law, they have to give them to them. Or they could say, you'll give me what you find at home, yet don't expect. So it's any surprise, the law of surprise. You give me your surprise. They call this children marked out by destiny. Meaning everyone's like, yelling at each other and they want this guy freaking dead, but another guy's like, no, leave it. You're gonna make things worse. But while this is happening, the Witcher is sitting there and he's feeling his medallion just shaking. For those of you that don't know, the Witcher's medallion shakes whenever he's in the presence of a monster, of magic, something like that, some kind of weird presence. So his medallion has been shaking for the longest time, and he's feeling that something's just not right. And he's like, what is going on? So he just keeps looking at everyone and not knowing what the source is. Pavita, she's doing, she's just sitting there, but finally she looks up and she's looking at Geralt, and then she looks over at one of the druids there, he's a sorcerer. Geralt's starting to sense that whatever's happening is coming from her. So before everyone goes crazy, Geralt stands up and he starts talking about this whole law of surprise. He says, it creates a powerful, indissoluble tie of destiny between the person demanding the oath and its object, the child's surprise. Such a child, marked by blind fate, can be destined for extraordinary things. It can play an incredibly important role in the life of the person to whom fate has tied it. So that's why it's so important, because this is destiny. This is their destiny. But then Geralt says, you have no right to the princess yet, though. It's not up to the queen to saying yes. It's actually up to the child. It's actually up to Pavita. She has to agree to go with you first. And then the druid says something really interesting about Geralt. He says, someone's saying, why is he saying this? How does he know all this? And the druid says, because it applied to him once, to Geralt. He was taken from his home because he was what his father hadn't expected to find on his return, because he was destined for other things, and by the power of destiny he became what he is. Geralt was a child surprise. He was exactly what they're claiming here. So at 12 o'clock, this urchin guy, you see him kind of like twitch a little bit and his helmet's all weird, and they're like, okay, you have to take off your helmet now, it's 12. Before she decides if she goes with you or not. So he takes off his helmet and he's this like monster. He's like this, it says he has like a snout, like a pig snout, and he's this ugly monster thing. He still talks and everything. The queen tells Pavita and she's like, do you want to go with this monster? You just have to say no and you will never see him again. And she's like, yes, I do want to go with him. This makes the queen so mad. She's like, yeah, right. And she calls the guards and everyone starts fighting each other because they're like, this is not going to happen. She is not going to go with this monster. When one of the guys that was there, one of the suitors, stabs Urchin in his chest, in an open spot in his armor, Pavita screams, Dunny, and she just goes crazy. She bursts into magic. Like strong magic, where she just starts screaming. Everything's just flying around. People are just stuck to the ground because of the force. The druid and Geralt kind of team up and they're like, we have to find a way to do this. And they're like, we have to hit it. Geralt hits her with Ard and the druid hits her with this really strong spell, but it does nothing. So she's about to crush them all. Even Geralt says, you have to block this because she is gonna destroy us. So she's really strong, and it says that she's got this like aura of green magic around her, and she's just like floating, and everything is just getting destroyed. The walls are already cracking. So one of the suitors, they call him Kudkudak. They call him this because he makes weird noises. He like imitates different types of animals and like monsters and stuff. So he starts making these really weird noises, like really loud, and there was bagpipes there too, and he starts just squeezing the bagpipes, and this catches Pavita's attention. Like she just stops and just looks like, what the hell? That's when the Geralt is like, now hit her with the magic now. He tells the druid, and him and the druid hit her again with Ard and the spell, and this time it does knock her down and just causes everything to just stop, and she just starts crying on the ground. So what the druid and Geralt notice is that Pavita goes straight to this urchin guy, the guy that was hurt, the guy that was this monster dude. She goes straight to him because he's now like on the ground all kind of bleeding, and she's calling him Dunny. So the druid is like, ugh. He's like, man, they start at an early age. And Geralt's like, what are you talking about? He's like, she wouldn't have been able to use the Force if she was a virgin. So she's not a virgin. So now they're like, okay, this Dunny dude, this monster and Pavita have actually been getting it on at night there at the castle, and nobody knew. Which it goes back to the very beginning with the Castellan, what he says. It's small, hunchbacked, bristling like a urchin. It creeps around the castle at night, rattles chains, moans and groans in the chambers. So that's pretty much what they were hearing. So that's why she wanted to go with him, because she's in love with him, he's in love with her. Dunny, the urchin dude, he turns back into himself. He's like, I've had this curse ever since I was born. He's like, I don't know why, I don't know who put it on me. That the only thing that could resolve this curse, could get rid of this curse, was a child surprise, was destiny, his destiny, which is Pavita. And actually one of the suitors that was there from Skellig, was having like an affair with the queen a while back. They had had an affair, they had a thing. After all this craziness, the queen was like fallen on the ground, and this guy from Skellig, runs to her, and he's like, oh, my love, and she's like, oh, they're watching, and he's like, I don't care. He pretty much asks her to marry him. So she's like, you know what? Fine, Pavita, you stay with this thing, and I am going to marry this guy from Skellig. So she gets her union with Skellig that she wanted, and when she says this, the curse breaks, and Dunny does not turn into this monster anymore. And the queen asks the druid that was there if he could train Pavita so that this doesn't happen anymore, so that she could learn how to control her powers. And he's like, I would be honored. So the queen asks Geralt, what do I owe you? I got my union with Skellig, and destiny has been met, her, Pavita's destiny and my own. So she's like, what do I owe you? Just name it. And Geralt just asks for her, like, necklace, this, like, green necklace. He asks her for that, and she gives it to him. But then Dunny says, I owe you, as well. He's like, it's because of you. You saved me from that guy killing me, because the guy that stabbed him, the Witcher, came and, like, pushed the guy away, like, fought him off. So he didn't kill him. He just stabbed him a little bit. So he's like, anything you ask, just tell me. So that's where the Witcher says this. In order to become a Witcher, you have to be born in the shadow of destiny, and very few are born like that. That's why there are so few of us. We're growing old, dying, without anyone to pass our knowledge, our gifts onto. We lack successors, and this world is full of evil which waits for the day none of us are left. Dunny, you will give me that which you already have, but do not know. I'll return to Sintra in 6 years to see if destiny has been kind to me. And then Dunny says, Pavita, surely you're not. And then the queen says, "Pavita, are you? The princess lowered her eyes and blushed, then replied." That's how it ends. So she's pregnant with Ciri. Pavita is Ciri's mother, and Dunny is Ciri's father. Queen Callanth is Ciri's grandmother. That's how Geralt comes to adopt Ciri, because Ciri was promised to him as his destiny. This is where he pretty much saves, Geralt goes back and saves Ciri from the burning of Sintra. So I'll go into that later on in a video where I talk about this book. But this is pretty much Ciri already when she's around 11, 12, almost 13, and her training at Karamorin. It's really cool. So hopefully I finish this soon and I could talk about that. You already start to get why Ciri has these powers as well, because her mother was very, very powerful. And if you're wondering what she is, Triss says that Ciri is what's called a source. At least that's what's said in here. A source or a medium. So that's pretty much it. Next video, I'm going to be talking about Last Wish, which is the last story in here. It's about Yennefer. It's when Geralt and Yennefer meet. It is also very important for the game, so that you know who Yennefer is and why she's so important to Geralt. This is going to be a really big reading marathon, but it's all good because these books are awesome. I love these books so much. They're so well written. Sapkowski is just a brilliant writer, and I'm not even reading it in its native tongue. I'm sure it's even better, but even the translation is so good. Again, this is just an introduction to who Ciri is, mostly when it comes to her parents, and her background and where she's from, and that she is royalty. They call her the Lion Cub of Sintra. So she is a princess of Sintra. So hopefully you guys enjoy these videos. Like I said, I'm just doing this kind of thing more so to prepare for the game. Cause like I said, a lot of these things are kind of important for that, especially for those of you that aren't gonna read the books. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Rated M for mature.